Welcome back. You're listening to The Global Village, and I'm here with this amazing woman, Audrey Gale, author of The Human Trial. This is an exciting book. There's a lot of truth in this book. It's a novel, and I like the way you set this up, Audrey, with professionals back in the 1930s. Certainly a trying time for everybody. Here we are in coming up to the almost 2030s in a little while, so 100 years later. But tell us more about how well, you must have spent a lot of time on getting the details and researching this. So tell us, did this just come to you did it come together, or was it like given to you in segments? Did you get any dreams about it or any other, you know,
Oh,
fascinating stuff like that?
my best ideas come when I just wake up. So yes, I've been dreaming about it. It took me some years. So there were two aspects that were important to me. The scientific aspect being the reason for writing this novel, but also choosing a novel or fiction because it gave me the latitude to do what I hoped it would do, which is reach a much broader audience than, you know, people like us who are interested in these kind of esoteric subjects, um, reach fiction readers, reach thriller readers, reach mystery readers. And that is how it was designed as a novel. So I tried to stay as close as I could to the science by um, using my great friends, one, a very renowned physicist, who was involved in lots of governmental things, Manhattan Project way back when, so on and so forth, who taught space physics at UCLA. And then my other friend who got one of his degrees at USC here in Southern California, in pathology. So I had the two experts I needed because I was using those two experts to develop the science. That was the most important thing to me. But what I love about reading is learning while I'm being entertained, learning kind of not even realizing I'm learning, my mind being open to new possibilities. So, so I also have kind of a predisposition toward flawed characters. I find them much more relatable. And so I have three main characters. Dr. Randall Archer is the primary character. He's the protagonist. He's the pathologist. And he digs his way out of, coal town, Pennsylvania, and makes it to a pathology specialization at Harvard. And yet, you never totally forget your background. He was never really comfortable in this world. He was always still trying to prove something to himself and to others. So it makes him maybe not the most likable character, but he is certainly relatable. We've all forgotten at times whose shoulders we stand on, um, who we should have thanked, etc. So he interacts with the physicist at Harvard, and then their history continues on from East Coast to West Coast. And then there is a female character that Dr. Archer eventually will marry. She's a very interesting character. She's a woman ahead of her time. A theme of mine forever and a day. I will never write without that. Women finding their places in the universe. So that's the novelistic part, and I've heard that it does kind of grab you and take you, carry you to the end, which is exactly what I was hoping for.
Well, you've got the right title, The Human Trial. You have the success stories of going for alternative ways. You have my vote with your golden retriever being saved. You didn't abandon your best friend at a most critical time in both your lives, I guess, when you just went to LA. But
Exactly.
this gives hope to people, Audrey, and I think that's the greatest gift you can give to anybody. And the idea that you need a pathologist and you need somebody who is able to understand vibrational therapy, those two coming together, that's the future of medical science, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree.
We're starting to look at magnetic resonance in magnets and copper wire being wrapped through the magnets and light bulbs coming on. And all of a sudden, my gosh, the Earth's a battery. This is amazing. So maybe there's something to this, alternative, uh, let's say, therapy that's being given to people. So what is your what's the most exciting occurrence in the book? So we can leave our viewers with just a hunger to run out and get this book today. It's called The Human Trial by Audrey Gale, and it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gale being spelled Gale. Yeah, it's available on Amazon, on all the online places. It's available in audio and print and ebook, and you can get it wherever books are sold. As I say, like Amazon, you have to order things most of the time today. But anyway, yeah, I think the most exciting thing I've already touched on. I think the two scientists looking for the first time at an unpreviously seen life form, which is living microbes. And they didn't get the chance before the end of the story to prove that disease microbes evolve, or what they were looking at was in fact viruses. But that's a pretty safe bet based on the way they looked and their size and so forth. And so I then decided, when the story ends in 1939, just around the time of the outbreak of the war, and you'll hear me talking about the history because I love historical fiction, so that's in there too. Each chapter head is like the New Deal and Social Security and things that were going on in the United States during that decade, which was really a pivotal decade. So you get a little historical background, as well as the science, as well as the flawed characters. And then I'm going to take it on as a trilogy. So I decided I'd already have a 1970s version fleshed out. But then, while we're all locked up in COVID and kind of twiddling our thumbs, thinking about how terrible it was, I thought, wait a minute, this is a viral disease. Wait a minute. Why wouldn't I bring this story into our modern era? I suspect that's going to be the hardest one to write, but at any rate, that's my plan. The Human Trial is the first in a trilogy. And the subliminal idea by all of that is that it's been 125 years since Einstein was working, Niels Bohr was working. It's been almost 100 years, as you pointed out, Dr. Douglas, since Royal Rife was working and discovering, and he was having his problems with the establishment and so forth. It's too much time. You know what? The point being, it's gone on this long. We need to make a change, and however we get there, we'll get there. I believe you're absolutely right. I think this is the future of medicine, and part of it is de-specialization in the medical field, and part of it is changing the way doctors are educated, and part of the way of it is us opening our minds to other ways of approaching things, and not just accepting someone's opinion without further examination.
It was Hippocrates, I think, who said, physician, heal thyself, uh, or something along the lines that we all have to be our own doctors.
Exactly.
And my mentor, Ross Peterson, told me that when I was a young man, about 24. And that always was one of those curiosities in my mind. What did you mean by that? But as I've gone through the decades uh, and listening to you today, recount yet again, this is the way it is. Slow change is always slow, but change occurs. I mean, polio vaccinations were difficult to accept. COVID vaccinations, well, that was a very strange phenomena with the dissemination of information and the internet, but vaccinations were created. And I was thinking I was very smart. I called up a friend of mine who does brain surgery, and I said, with all this research in COVID and trying to find out about viruses, there's a difference, as you've alluded to, bacteria and viruses are different sizes. I said, wouldn't it be wonderful if they could come up with a cure for like cancer, herpes, hepatitis, they're all in the same thing and they're manageable. And he said to me without a blink of an eye, and he said, yes, and they're also working on a cure for Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
My jaw dropped. And I think that you're onto something because this is what's happened with all this money and research that's gone into COVID and other diseases like COVID. Apparently, COVID's not the real bad one. It's just the one that gripped the world for a while.
Mhm.
That's my opinion. That could be wrong, could be right. But you're
Mhm.
onto something in your trilogy. And the idea that, if I got you right, you found that through your characters, they could actually see the disease.
They could see the disease. They were looking at living diseases. And isn't it somewhat ironic that you would look for answers to disease from dead specimens? I don't know, it just kind of catches my brain and it says, that's crazy. But, if that's the only way you can do it, that's the only way you can do it. However, they had another way. And I think I want to say something about Alzheimer's. I had on I do a monthly Zoom on health practitioners from every ilk I can find. And on my last one, I had, as I've mentioned before, Dr. James Bare, Bare. You could look him up. He's known throughout the frequency generating world in terms of treatment devices. He said that there has been very promising progress with frequency generation, frequency treatment, vibrational treatment, electromagnetic field treatment, whatever you want to call it, against Alzheimer's. He said it is really exciting. And also, he said there is a hospital in Detroit that is using frequency generation equipment to fight cancer and getting some successes. So this is happening. This is happening. Let's all join the wave and make it happen faster.
Well, the book is called The Human Trial, and it looks like you're on the crest of this wave, getting this information out and giving people hope. Uh, God Almighty works in mysterious ways, but we know from the esoteric and the uh, practical spirituality and practical science that our generation is moving towards that now, combining the idea of knowledge from intellectual sources and from, let's say, sources beyond the metaphysical. And lo and behold, there's insight and guidance, but also there's the internet that allows the sharing of this. I know that you've spent a lot of time. You said it took several years to do this. Anybody who's reading this book with all the things you've mentioned today, that took a lot of time. And also, you had your two, can I call them colleagues, that were there to give you some technical advice on their fields of disease
Absolutely. Yes.
and health situations. I believe you're a little guided from above there. So, but
Oh, I think I feel my dad. My dad, who I described as the spiritual engineer, he had both sides of the brain highly functioning, and he was the most open-minded person I knew ever, and probably the most curious. And he passed that curiosity on to me, thank God. But I do feel him frequently because I talk about this book, I talk about him. I just kind of feel like we're still in a partnership of some sort. Um, but yeah, I think what you're saying about the wave, I don't think it's stoppable, but it might be delayable. So our job is to make sure we get that delay thrown out the window and let's move forward where we can all be confident in a healthy, long life.
well, I think your book is on the path to that illumination. There are only three things cannot be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So as time moves forward, you know, what you're putting down here, just sort of an intuitive hunch of my own, is that you're onto something here. And
Thank
especially
you.
as you're going to go to this trilogy. I mean, I like it. I like the idea. And I compliment you on continuing to work because there's always someone out there, if you look, as you found in your own life. And we encourage our audience, and on this show and my Wake Up podcast, we encourage people to explore, even when it looks hopeless. Take the next step. And as ridiculous as it might sound, acupuncture, that's sticking needles in my whatever, that's going to make something, and those herbs that taste like bark. Oh my God, you know. Well, and all I said, yeah, but look what happened. You know, my lesions are gone, my health occurred. It says a lot about you, Gail, is that you're quite intelligent, you're curious as well, but also you're a risk taker. And you're coming from a analytical left side brain to a metaphysical, spiritual, creative side, right brain. That's how it's done. Uh,
Yeah.
I think we go
I,
through.
and,
Yeah.
and I would like to say something about acupuncture and herbs. Although traditional medicine calls these things alternative, which is a big put down in their use of the word, acupuncture and Chinese herbs have been around for 5,000 years. But Western medicine has been around since the mid 1800s.
Mhm.
Just something to keep in the back of your mind to make you say, wait a minute, I have the right to make questions here. And you do.
Well, this is an amazing interview. This is Audrey Gale, Gale. The book is called Human Trial, and I agree wholeheartedly. Go out and give it a try because I found sometimes the most, I was just going to get you to do that. You must be telepathic.
There it is, the human trial.
There it is. It
There
was
it
sitting
is.
there. So there it is, my friend. So I encourage you again, in Hillary, in Audrey's words, is to continue with this, and you'll find your way. I think that's the message for today. You'll find your way, as Audrey did, and as I have in my own life. So until next time, this brings us to a close of another inspirational episode of the Global Village Show. I hope you found today's discussion as enlightening, as motivating as I did. Until next time, my special friends, keep exploring, keep growing, and stay connected to the global village of seekers and achievers. And remember, please be so kind as to do me a big, big favor and click the subscribe button on your social media so you don't miss out on our next exciting Global Village show. Remember, it's free, and I'd love you to give me a thumbs up or to like me on your social media player because that helps me continue. I'm going to say thank you, everyone. And also consider checking out my ever popular Wake Up podcast, all on popular media podcast providers. I'm your host, Dr. Douglas James Cottrell, wishing you peace, prosperity, a journey filled with love and light. And thank you, Audrey Gale, for being a guest on my show today. You were absolutely fantastic. I wish you Godspeed.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.